Hello everyone, welcome to my podcast. Today I want to share something very personal with you, something that happened on a very special day, the day of Arafah. This day is known for its mercy, its power, and its closeness to Allah. But for me, one particular day of Arafah became a turning point. I remember it so clearly because it didn't feel like just another spiritually significant day. It felt like the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. I had this deep, almost surreal sense that everything was about to shift, that the things I had longed for would finally come, and the things I was so desperate to be free from would finally leave. And this wasn't a feeling I usually had. In the past, I would comfort myself with it will get easier inshallah, but this time, I knew it was the moment. I had placed everything on this day. My hopes, fear, dreams, pain. I had been waiting for it. The circumstances were far from ideal. I was already on a trip and I had to travel again, 7 hours on a bus with no air conditioning. And yes, it was as hot and exhausting as it sounds. On top of that, I was fasting. I had decided early on that I didn't want anything to interfere with this day, and fasting was part of that commitment. But during the journey, I developed a terrible headache. I was in pain and couldn't take anything for it, and yet, I couldn't let myself break the fast. This day was too important. So I just sat there for hours, just me, my aching head, and my dua list. I spent almost the entire journey making dua. I kept repeating the same dua over and over again. I didn't stop until Maghrib. I remember feeling faint from the exhaustion, but my heart was full. It felt like something sacred was unfolding. Looking back, there were a few things that made that day of Arafah so different and so impactful. First, I had this unwavering faith in Allah. I believed without hesitation that He was listening, that He would respond. Every word I said, I believed it would show up in my life in some form. That certainty changed everything. When you expect goodness from Allah, it's impossible that He will let you down. Second, the way I made dua was different. I didn't just say, "Oh Allah bless me," "Oh Allah grant me success." I was specific. I said things like, "Oh Allah, teach me how to manage my emotions. Oh Allah, help me become someone who chooses you every single time. Oh Allah, help me sleep early, wake up refreshed, and commit to a routine." It was like I was building a blueprint for the life I wanted and handing it over to Allah. I also began my du'as with my faith. Before anything else, I prayed for sincerity, for love of worship, to be drawn closer to Allah, and kept away from everything that takes me away from Him. I asked to be surrounded by people who help me in my deen, and distanced from those who distract me from it. And then I made the very difficult but powerful dua. I said, "Oh Allah, if there is anything I'm attached to that isn't good for me, isn't written for me, help me let go." That dua changed my whole life. There were things I was deeply attached to, ideas, people, plans, things I thought I couldn't live without. But after that dua, it was like a switch flipped. The weight just lifted. What once felt impossible to detach from became so ordinary. That to me was a sign, a response to my plea on the day of Arafah. Another lesson I took from that day, something to be specific in your dua, and sometimes be general. For example, I didn't need to name a specific job when asking for a source of income. I simply asked, "Oh Allah, grant me a halal and steady source of provision." But when it came to my character, my habits, my routine that required details, I prayed, "Oh Allah, make it easy for me to wake up for Fajr every day. Oh Allah, help me stay consistent with my goals. Oh Allah, give me energy and discipline." I started treating my du'as like I was crafting my dream life with Allah. But before all that, before the requests, I had to face myself. I had to look at my flaws, my sin. the spiritual innocence I was carrying, such as arrogance, laziness, low iman, bad thoughts about Allah, all of it. So I started with Istighfar, real, intentional forgiveness. I had recalled a moment, like speaking badly about someone and say Astaghfirullah al-Azim. I think of the envy, the arrogance, the comparison, and I would say Astaghfirullah al-Azim. And something I tried that day, which I now recommend to anyone listening, split the day into two halves. One half for sincere repentance, the other half for dua. That's what I did, and I promise you, I truly believe that nothing I asked for that day was left unanswered. Some of it showed up within weeks, some months, but it came in ways I couldn't have even planned. It all comes back to one thing, having a good opinion of Allah. When you believe that He hears you, that He wants good for you, and that He would never waste your words, your tears, or your trust, you experience miracles. So if you're listening to this ahead of the day of Arafah, start preparing, reflect, write your du'as, think deeply, ask forgiveness, and ask like you're certain your prayer is already being answered. Until next time, take care, and may all your heartfelt du'as be accepted in the most beautiful way.